Let me begin with a simple truth: life is not easy. It never has been. Hardships, disappointments, and moments of deep loneliness are part of every journey. But for women especially, life often feels like carrying two worlds: your own and the expectations of others. And in the middle of that weight, the question becomes, how do you still choose happiness? Happiness isn't about smiling every day or pretending everything is perfect. It's about finding strength within yourself, even when everything around you feels broken. It's about pushing forward, not because life is light, but because your spirit is stronger than the darkness. So today, I want to share with you 5 key principles that can help you push yourself to be a happy woman, even when life is hard. Redefine happiness for yourself. Too often, society sells us a picture of happiness: perfect relationships, perfect jobs, perfect bodies, perfect homes. And when our lives don't look like that picture, we start believing we've failed. But real happiness doesn't come from perfection. It comes from authenticity. Happiness is one of those words that we hear often, yet very few of us stop to ask what it actually means in our own lives. Most of the time, our understanding of happiness is not truly ours. It has been shaped by what we see in magazines, on television, or on social media. It comes from what other people post about their vacations, their perfect families, their dream careers. Without even realizing it, we start chasing a version of happiness that was never ours to begin with. We begin to measure our joy against someone else's highlight reel, and naturally, we fall short. That is why one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself, especially as a woman navigating the pressures of life, is to redefine happiness for yourself. To redefine happiness means to take ownership of what joy and fulfillment look like in your life. It is asking yourself, what really matters to me, not what looks good to others. For some women, happiness may come from raising a family and seeing their children thrive. For others, it may come from building a career, traveling the world, or serving their community. There is no single answer. The danger is when we let the world dictate what happiness should be, because then it becomes a performance, not a feeling. And performances are exhausting. Think about the woman who feels pressured to always be smiling in family pictures, even though she is exhausted inside. Or the woman who buys things she cannot afford just to prove she is doing well. Or the woman who stays in a relationship that drains her because society tells her that being single is worse than being unhappy. In each of these cases, happiness is borrowed from someone else's definition. And borrowed happiness will never fill your soul. But when you redefine it, when you look at your own life and ask, what makes me come alive, everything changes. Maybe it is the sound of your child's laughter. Maybe it is a morning walk by yourself. Maybe it is the courage to start a business you have been dreaming about. These things may look small to the world, but they hold tremendous value to you. Redefining happiness is about allowing yourself the freedom to pursue those things unapologetically. One of the most liberating truths is that happiness is not about accumulation. It is not about having the perfect job, the perfect home, the perfect body. It is about meaning. A study from Harvard that has been tracking people's lives for over 80 years concluded that the key to happiness is not wealth or success, but meaningful connections and purpose. When your happiness is built on meaning, it becomes unshakable even when life is hard, because meaning lasts longer than pleasure. There is also a practical side to this. When you redefine happiness, you remove unnecessary pressure from yourself. You no longer have to run at the exhausting pace of trying to keep up with everyone else. You can walk at the pace that aligns with your own values. For example, if happiness for you is having more time with your children, you may choose a smaller home or a simpler lifestyle to free yourself from long work hours. If happiness for you is growing spiritually, you may decline social invitations that distract you and instead spend time reading, praying, or serving. Redefining happiness is not selfish. In fact, it makes you more authentic in your relationships and stronger in your purpose. When you live by your own definition of happiness, you show up with a lighter spirit, and people around you feel it too. You are not weighed down by comparison. You are not trying to perform for approval. You are simply being you. And that authenticity is magnetic. It inspires other women to ask themselves the same question. What does happiness look like for me? This is why pushing yourself to be a happy woman, even when life is hard, begins here. Because if happiness is defined by external things, life's difficulties will always take it away. But if happiness is defined by your own values, it becomes a well that cannot be easily emptied. You may face storms, disappointments, even heartbreak, but deep down you will know that your happiness is not fragile. It is rooted in something real, something yours. So today, pause and reflect. Whose version of happiness have you been chasing? And what would it look like to write your own definition? The answer may not be grand, it may be simple, but it will be true. And once you live by what is true, you will find a happiness that no difficulty can steal. Embrace the power of small wins. When life is hard, the mountain ahead of you looks overwhelming. You feel like you'll never make it to the top. But here's the truth. No one climbs a mountain in a single step. You climb it by taking one step, then another, and then another. There are seasons in life when the challenges ahead look overwhelming. The mountain feels too steep, the road too long, and the weight too heavy to carry. In those moments, happiness and progress seem almost impossible. We tell ourselves that unless we can do something big, unless we can make a dramatic change, then it is not worth doing at all. And this is where many people give up, not because they lack ability, but because they underestimate the power of small wins. Small wins are the steps that carry you forward when the destination feels far away. They are the little victories that remind you that progress is happening, even if it is not obvious. Think about it. Nobody runs a marathon in a single leap. Nobody writes a book in one sitting. Nobody heals from heartbreak in one day. Every great accomplishment, every meaningful transformation is built on small, consistent actions. When you begin to embrace these moments, you change the way you see your journey. Waking up early to exercise may not transform your body overnight, but it is a win. Saving a little money each week may not make you wealthy today, but it is a win. Saying no to something that drains you and yes to something that nourishes you may seem small, but it is a powerful win. These moments are proof that you are moving forward, and they build momentum. Psychologists have studied this phenomenon and discovered that celebrating small victories creates motivation. When you acknowledge even the tiniest step forward, your brain releases chemicals that reinforce your desire to keep going. It is like fuel for your determination. And when you string together enough of these wins, you build a sense of resilience that prepares you to face bigger challenges. Think of a woman battling depression. For her, the idea of being happy may feel impossible. But if she decides that her small win today is simply getting out of bed and opening the curtains, that matters. Tomorrow, her win might be taking a walk outside. A week later, her win might be reaching out to a friend. Each act may feel small on its own, but together, they become stepping stones, leading her out of the darkness. Or think of a woman who dreams of building her own business. At first, the thought feels too large. Where would she even start? But if her first small win is just writing down her ideas, that is progress. If her second small win is learning one new skill, that is progress. If her third small win is reaching out to one potential client, that is progress. Over time, these small wins create confidence, and confidence becomes courage, and courage leads to the bigger breakthrough she once thought impossible. The beauty of small wins is that they shift your focus from what you cannot control to what you can. You may not be able to change your circumstances overnight, but you can make one choice today that moves you closer to who you want to be. And in those small, intentional steps, you build not only progress, but also happiness. Because happiness is not just found at the finish line. It is also found in the journey, in knowing that you are trying, that you are moving, that you are not standing still. Sometimes we think happiness only comes once we reach the top of the mountain. But the truth is, it often comes from looking back and realizing how far we have climbed one step at a time. The strength you need is not built in the leap. It is built in the consistency of showing up every single day, even in small ways. So when life feels too hard and the big picture overwhelms you, narrow your focus. Ask yourself, what is one small win I can achieve today? Maybe it is finishing a task. Maybe it is choosing gratitude. Maybe it is taking care of your health. It does not have to be extraordinary, but it has to be intentional. Those small wins are not insignificant. They are the foundation of resilience, the proof of progress, and the seeds of lasting happiness. Lean into your community. Happiness doesn't grow in isolation. We were not designed to do life alone. Yet, when life gets hard, many women withdraw. They hide their struggles because they don't want to appear weak. But strength is not in hiding, it's in reaching out. Research shows that people with strong social connections live longer, heal faster, and are more resilient in the face of challenges. There is a powerful truth we often forget when life becomes heavy. Human beings were never meant to go through it all alone. Yet, when the storms hit, many of us retreat into isolation. We hide our pain. We smile when we are breaking inside. And we convince ourselves that nobody would understand anyway. But the reality is that healing, resilience, and even happiness are built not in solitude, but in connection. When you lean into your community, you discover a strength that is greater than your own. Community does not always mean a large group. It can be a circle of close friends, a supportive family, a faith group, or even a mentor who believes in you. What matters is that you have people who see you, hear you, and remind you that you are not walking your journey alone. Studies on happiness consistently show that people with strong social ties are not only happier, but also healthier and more resilient. In fact, one of the longest running studies on human life revealed that the quality of our relationships is the single greatest predictor of long-term well-being. Think about a woman going through divorce. Alone, she feels like her world is collapsing. The silence in her home is overwhelming, and the weight of judgment feels unbearable. If she isolates herself, the pain only deepens. But when she leans into her community, friends who take her out for coffee, family members who reassure her of her worth, or a support group of women who have walked the same road, she begins to find her footing again. The pain does not disappear, but the love and encouragement around her make it lighter to carry. Or consider the woman who is battling a serious illness. If she tries to fight it in silence, the fear can eat her alive. But when she leans into her community, when neighbors bring meals, when friends sit with her at appointments, when others pray for her and remind her of her strength, she's no longer defined by her illness. She becomes part of a network of love and care that sustains her even in the darkest nights. The challenge is that leaning into your community requires vulnerability. It means admitting you do not have it all together. It means showing the cracks in your armor. And for many women, this feels like weakness. But it is actually the opposite. Vulnerability is courage. It is the strength to say, I cannot do this alone. And that simple admission opens the door for others to step in and lift you up. When you surround yourself with the right community, something remarkable happens. They not only support you in the valleys, but also celebrate with you on the mountaintops. They cheer for your victories, no matter how small, and remind you of your value when you forget it yourself. And in turn, you become part of their strength as well. Community is not just about taking, it is about giving. When you show up for others, you also build meaning and joy in your own life. There is another reason why leaning into your community matters so much. Life is unpredictable. Hardships will come, but when you face them with people beside you, they lose some of their power. Pain is housed when shared, and joy is multiplied when celebrated together. A woman may be strong on her own, but when she walks with others, her strength is magnified. Happiness grows in connection. It is in the conversations late at night that remind you you're not crazy. It is in the laughter that breaks through tears. It is in the moments when someone simply says, "I am here for you." Those are the moments that carry you when life feels unbearable. So do not be afraid to reach out. Do not let pride or fear convince you that you must do it all alone. Lean into your community because that is where hope is renewed, where resilience is built, and where happiness can flourish even in the hardest of times. Choose growth over victimhood. When life breaks your heart, you have two choices: remain a victim or become a student. Victimhood says, "Why me?" Growth says, "What can I learn?" Life will test you in ways you never imagined. Loss, rejection, disappointment, and betrayal are experiences that can shake the foundation of who you are. In those moments, you are faced with a choice to see yourself as a victim of circumstances or to see yourself as a student of life. This choice may sound simple, but it determines the direction of your future. Victimhood keeps you trapped in the past. Growth sets you free to move forward. Choosing victimhood means constantly asking, "Why me?" It means replaying the unfairness of life, holding on to anger, and waiting for someone else to make it right. At first, it feels justified. After all, the pain was real. But over time, victimhood drains your energy, robs your joy, and blinds you to new opportunities. It convinces you that your story has ended when, in truth, it has only turned a page. Growth, on the other hand, begins when you ask a different question. Instead of asking, "Why me?" you begin to ask, "What can I learn?" Growth is not about ignoring the pain or pretending it did not hurt. Growth is about taking the pain and shaping it into wisdom, resilience, and compassion. It is about refusing to let the hardship define you and instead using it to refine you. Consider the woman who loses her job after years of loyalty. She could choose victimhood and spend the next season of her life bitter, complaining that life is unfair. Or she could choose growth by asking herself what new possibilities this setback might open. Perhaps she starts a small business that she never dared to before. Perhaps she discovers talents she did not know she had. Years later, she might look back and realize that what felt like the end was actually the beginning. Or think about the woman who survives heartbreak. Victimhood tells her she is unlovable, broken, destined to be alone. Growth tells her that this season is an invitation to rediscover her worth, to heal, to set boundaries, and to grow into a stronger version of herself. The pain is the same in both stories, but the outcome is drastically different because of the choice she made. When you choose growth, you take back your power. You stop waiting for someone else to fix what is broken and begin building your own future with what is in your hands. You begin to see failure not as the end, but as feedback. You begin to see rejection not as proof of your inadequacy, but as redirection towards something better. Growth shifts your perspective and allows happiness to take root even when life feels unfair. This mindset also changes how you interact with others. Victimhood often isolates because it is centered on self-pity. Growth, however, opens the door to empathy. When you have learned from your own trials, you are more equipped to encourage others in theirs. You become a source of strength, not because your life has been easy, but because you chose to rise above it. The truth is, hardship will always knock at your door. You cannot control when it comes, but you can control how you respond. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. You can stay in the pit of self-pity, or you can climb out with the determination to become stronger. The choice is yours, and it is a choice you must make every day. Happiness does not come from a life free of pain. It comes from knowing that the pain did not defeat you. It comes from realizing that you grew wiser, braver, and more resilient because of it. When you choose growth over victimhood, you are not denying your scars. You are using them as proof of survival, as lessons for the road ahead, and as reminders that you are stronger than anything that tried to break you. Practice daily gratitude. Gratitude is not just a cliché. It is a scientifically proven way to rewire the brain for happiness. Studies from Harvard and other universities show that people who practice daily gratitude sleep better, have lower stress, and feel happier overall. Gratitude is one of the simplest practices in life, yet it has the power to completely reshape how you see the world. It is not about ignoring pain or pretending everything is perfect. It is about choosing to notice what is good, even in the middle of what is hard. Gratitude does not erase challenges, but it gives you a new lens to view them through. And that lens can change the way you experience both hardship and happiness. When life feels overwhelming, the natural instinct is to focus on everything that is missing. The opportunities you lost, the relationships that ended, the dreams that didn't turn out the way you hoped. The mind begins to dwell on the gaps. But when you practice daily gratitude, you train yourself to shift attention from what is missing to what is present. This shift may seem small, but it is powerful. It teaches you that even in the darkest seasons, there is still light if you choose to see it. Research has shown that gratitude is more than a nice idea. People who practice it consistently sleep better, experience less stress, and report greater overall happiness. Their circumstances may not be better than anyone else's, but their perspective is. They see the blessings that others overlook, and that awareness creates joy. Imagine a woman who is going through financial struggles. On paper, her situation looks bleak. Yet, every night before bed, she writes down 3 things she is thankful for. Maybe it is a meal she shared with her children, the support of a kind neighbor, or simply the fact that she made it through another day. Over time, her focus shifts from despair to resilience. She still faces challenges, but gratitude keeps her spirit alive. Or think of a woman recovering from illness. Her body may feel weak, but when she chooses to notice the nurse who treats her kindly, the friend who checks on her, the strength to get out of bed, she finds reasons to keep fighting. Gratitude does not change the diagnosis, but it strengthens the will to keep going. The practice of gratitude does not have to be complicated. It can be as simple as starting your morning by naming one thing you appreciate or ending your day by writing in a journal. Some people practice it during meals by pausing to acknowledge the food in front of them and the hands that prepared it. Others make it a habit to tell people directly what they are grateful for. These daily rituals may seem small, but over time they rewire the brain to see abundance instead of lack. Gratitude also has a ripple effect. When you live with a grateful heart, people around you feel it. You become more patient, more generous, more joyful. Instead of complaining about what is wrong, you highlight what is right. This energy inspires others, reminding them to look at their own lives with fresh eyes. A grateful woman becomes a light in her home, her workplace, and her community. It is easy to assume that gratitude comes after happiness, that once life gets better, then we will be thankful. But the truth is the opposite. Gratitude comes first, and happiness follows. When you practice gratitude daily, you create happiness, even in seasons when nothing seems to be going right. So ask yourself, what can you be thankful for today? It may be something big, like the love of your family, or something small, like the warmth of a cup of tea. Whatever it is, acknowledge it. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Make gratitude a daily habit, because happiness is not about waiting for life to be perfect. It is about noticing the good that is already here. Gratitude will not remove the storms from your life, but it will give you the strength to dance in the rain. It will remind you that even in pain, there is beauty. And when you choose to practice it daily, you create a foundation of joy that no hardship can take away.